So, if you were going to apply this to Native Americans, because they have been so traumatized, how could the young people today, be healed from that intense trauma that most Native Americans have experienced generationally?
Have you got my picture back?
Yes.
You ask big questions. Uh, Very big questions. So they have inherited from their ancestors genocide via disease, war, theft of land, big stuff, right? That stuff creates individual trauma in their lives.
Alcoholism, lack of
They get,
education,
they get
poor
sent
health.
to Indian schools, all this stuff, right? So you have the whole collective is wounded, and the individuals in the collective are wounded. How do you fix it? You go to work on various individuals who are willing and try hard to get them clear, right? To patch up the damage so that they can somehow help patch it up in other people. One of your questions towards the end of what you sent me was, is there hope for the world and all this kind of stuff? And to my mind, the biggest hope for the world right now is what we are seeing is we're seeing collective trauma come out of the box. The Me Too movement, the white nationalists, we're seeing the trauma in these different groups that was always kind of here, but was beneath the surface, kept politely beneath it. It is coming out big time. That's bad in one sense, because it's fragmenting the heck out of us. But in another sense, it's visible, and we can start to address it.
Right.
And the missing link, in my opinion, and this is something I would still like to write about if I get the chance, the missing link is we do not understand our collective natures. We think of ourselves as individuals, especially in this culture.
Yeah.
We're the rugged individualists.
Yeah.
We don't understand that we are constantly here. Can I show you another quick slide?
Please.
Okay, so share screen. So here, this is a pure group intelligence. There's this African termite colony, right? It does the amazing, responsive, adaptive things and has no brain. It digs, it has gardens, it has ventilation, it has drainage, it can forage for food, it can fight wars, it knows when it's time to pick up and move this whole thing and rebuild it again a mile away. Am I making sense?
Yes.
And there's no brain. Where is the intelligence? Well, each individual is like a neuron. It's a distributed collective intelligence. That's the systems theory term for it, right? It's distributed, it's collective. Distributed means it doesn't exist in any individual, it exists in the networked interaction of those individuals. Then if we start with this kind of pure group intelligence and we start scaling up through the species, we go to herd animals and pack hunters and primates and humans, this distributed social intelligence, it doesn't go away. It gets bigger, except that on top of it now we've started to add all kinds of individual intelligence. So now we've got this issue of how do we get the individual and the intelligence of an individual in sync with the group intelligence that of the collectives that they belong to. And we pretend that this kind of doesn't exist, especially in the United States. If you go to China or Japan, there's much deeper sense of it, right? The collective.
Yes.
But there, I would say in some cases, they're emphasizing this social intelligence too much, and there's not enough respect for individual intelligence. So we have a big, hard balancing job, and we pretend like this doesn't exist, that it can't be traumatized itself, that it can't flow trauma to the individual, that the individuals. So in the fact that there's so much coming up right now, there's a chance, at least, for these newer understandings of individual and collective trauma to maybe start having an impact.
Do you know of any schools that that provide students with this kind of support? They've maybe done some around bullying, helping kids who feel bullied. Maybe some after disasters like Katrina, that they'll provide support in school. Do you know of any models of schools who are helping with these traumas for kids?
I don't. I mean, there are these things. There is an awareness, and it is helping. The Association for Comprehensive Energy Psychology is a group that I belong to, and there are studies. EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique, which is a meridian tapping trauma healing technique. There's studies, and it's an evidence-based process. It's the only one that the American Psychological Association will accept these days. And people have gone off to Rwanda and places like this and done EFT on the populations of kids and adults there and had really good results. So stuff like this is happening, but the mainstream of psychology and psychology is still drug-based, right? It's still on the medical model of this is something we'll give it some, we'll sell it some drugs. Cognitive behavioral therapy is good, but it doesn't address these larger issues. Look, there are times when you cannot get an individual well because the individual is entangled with a family, and unless you deal with the family system in some way, they're not going to change because they are required in that system to be the scapegoat or to be something, right? And it's you can't peel them away from that unless they exit the family, and they're not going to typically, belonging to a family is one of our most profound desires, built into us. We need to. What's her name? Born to Bond. Lynn McTaggart. In the book Born to Bond, she says we're born to bond. Darwin's thing of survival of the fittest, that is slowly, there's truth in that, but it's slowly also being replaced with something that says, no, it's survival of the successfully bonded.
Mm-hmm. And altruism happens in all kinds of species.
Yeah.
Because it helps the group.
Yeah.